Hi, it's Mark Kendall here once again. I'm here with Mike Day. We've just been going through his case studies, and today he's going to go off and join the association and become an IEMT practitioner. So, good morning, Mike. How are you doing today?
Morning, doing really well, thank you.
Good, good, good. I'm just putting my phone to one side. Mike had to rush to our appointment this morning after making dinner in a slow cooker. So, it's you did these training in February, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Was it
Yeah.
in February? So it's only been like literally a little over a month, a couple of days over a month, and so you've got your case studies done straight away.
Yeah.
You've sent them in. You sent them in like a few days ago, and then we arranged this session obviously to go over them. And I always say to people, it shouldn't take any more than 3 months to do your case studies, and you really should be able to do them within a month. I encourage people to set up the case studies before they take the training, to the people they want to work with. So, Mike, a little bit about yourself. Before you did IEMT, what's your experience in training in therapy, and what's your background?
Okay. Well, background, I was lifelong in sales, 40 odd years, due to a kind of a major situation in life, a kind of tragedy I had. I come away from that and I sought therapy. I had hypnotherapy and it worked fantastically well for me. So I got trained as a hypnotherapist,
Oh,
and I've been a working hypnotherapist now for about 9 months.
oh, okay. So relatively quite new to
Yeah, yeah,
hypnotherapy.
yes.
Okay. So you trained in hypnotherapy for 9 months. How was it then that you heard about IEMT, and what made you decide you want to come and train in this modality?
Well, I think we somehow became friends on Facebook, and I noticed you do quite a lot of lives. So after seeing you about 200 times in about a month, I thought, who is this guy? Let's have a look. Clicked on, watched the live. And it got me fascinated, to be honest. I'm very interested in natural therapies, alternative therapies, if a society likes to call them, but
Mhm.
natural therapies, and what I saw in your lives, and I think I seen that sort of demonstration. Yeah, I was really interested, to be honest.
And before you'd seen me do my lives, excuse me, did you have any idea about EMDR or eye movement therapy at all?
I'd heard of eye movement therapy. I wouldn't have been able to say exactly what it was. I'd heard of it,
Mm.
but no, I'd never heard of IEMT. It was something just in the background in my, which I may have come to eventually, because
Mm.
I'm a searcher in life. I'm looking
Yeah.
for good things, but no, not specifically. I hadn't.
Okay, cool. So you started interacting with my content, I believe is the media term.
Yes.
Then we would have probably have had some chat or something, I should imagine, about you wanting to do the course.
Yeah.
And then so you came on the course, like say a month ago. So what was your opinion of the training in terms of the pre-course materials, going through the course itself, and the post-course support and everything that kind of comes with it? So what's
Okay.
it been like for you?
Well, first of all, when I signed up and you sent me the pre-course, I noticed there was a lot to get your teeth into beforehand. There was demonstrations, there was videos, there was work to go away and do yourself, things that you wanted yourself, things that you wanted to change within yourself. And I thought that was brilliant, to be honest. So I found it quite a full few days leading up to
Mhm.
the course. But by the time I sat down on that Saturday morning, I felt really, really prepared. I knew what was coming. I knew what it was about, what to expect, and that's always a good thing with any new training.
Yeah, but the reason why I do that is that when I first started training people, people used to turn up, in person. I used to give them the manual, and that's where we then started from. And so when you then went into your groups or your pairs to do your work, you were then having to think about the things you wanted to work on, and that used to
Mm-hmm.
take so much time.
Yeah.
Um, when I give people the information beforehand, it allows them to prepare. It gets them to see what the language is going to be. And also it just means that when I'm doing the training, I'm not just reading a manual to people who are also reading the manual.
Yeah.
I can do I can spend more time on the demonstrations and the practical element of IEMT, literally, rather than just reading text to you. So everything we do is very modular. I'd like to break it down into literally different modules where I teach, demonstrate, you practice, and then we have a review. So what was your experience, not having any experience in eye movement therapy? What was it like for that weekend going through and working with everybody and learning this model?
Again, I really can't speak highly enough of the training, because there's a fantastic blend of information, but practice. And there was lots and lots of practical sessions and practice sessions where you could be the therapist and be the client, if you like. And I thought that was fantastic, to be honest, because we're all learning together. We know, we don't have to be perfect. There's lots of opportunities to get things wrong, if you like, but there was lots of opportunities to put them right again, because there was so many practice sessions. Yeah, really good.
And what were the results like that you were achieving for yourself and with other people in those practice sessions?
Well, this is the thing. Doing it for the first time and thinking, wondering whether you'd got it right, and then seeing somebody feeding back on your session. And I think at one point it got quite emotional at the changes that were made in a practice session that I'd done, and I'm thinking, this is fantastic, it's phenomenal. So it was staggering, to be honest, to get results at, say, a 1 o'clock on a Saturday with after 4 hours of training, and you think, brilliant.
Brilliant. And what's the aftercare been like? Because a lot of the courses I went on, as soon as the course finishes, you don't hear from them or anybody else, and you're just kind of like cast out to be on your own. So what's it been like for the last month then after the course?
Well, I think it's important that once you leave a training and you think, yeah, I got it for that weekend, but now I'm starting to forget things, or what was that again? And you've only got notes to look back on. That's not the case with this. Obviously, we've got the WhatsApp group, which you're a part of, which is quite active.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So there's a real opportunity to keep in touch with people and share experiences. But obviously, you're so accessible yourself. You jump in and you actually join in on the WhatsApp, and it appears as though you come in, you go back, because you'll reply to questions that have been asked way up the line. So that's encouraging. I have been part of things in the past where you jump on a group and you ask a question and no one answers, and you think, how? And you see, well, 46 people have seen this, and you think, how's that possible that nobody would give me an answer to a problem that I have? But it's the opposite with this. You put a question on, and people engage, which is superb.
And then, because also I do a thing every month. Are you coming tomorrow night? You signed up, so
yeah, I missed the first one, but I'm definitely on tonight. Yeah,
perfect. So basically, for everyone who goes through my training, excuse me, I do a monthly, excuse me, I do a monthly coaching call where I do extra demonstrations and take more questions, and it's usually for about an hour, something like that. And if people want to do more practice sessions, I can obviously sort that as well. And yes, so it's just, and there's no extra charge for any of these things. I just want to make sure that people are using these skills and understanding them, because when I first started, out of, say, 10 people who go through the course, maybe one person would actually hand in the case studies and use it. Now, out of 10 people, usually a minimum of 8 actually turn in the case studies and use it and go and get certified and become a member of the organization, the association. And I want, because I know just how great these skills are, and I want as many people to use them and be competent and confident in using them, to grow their business and to help people. So I like to give a lot of support. And as you say, I do a lot of Facebook Lives. So I used to do Facebook Lives every day. And sometimes what happens is somebody will ask a question in one of the WhatsApp groups. I'll be like, right, I'll do a Facebook Live about that question. Because if you've got that question, other people are like to have that question as well. So after the weekend, you went and worked on your case studies. You did 2 case studies without giving any sort of, personal information around them. Just take me through the first person you worked with, this girl who was having sort of panic attacks. You haven't worked with anyone before using IEMT. What was it like taking these skills from the training room on Zoom to actually, was it in person you did your session? Or was
No,
it
it
on Zoom?
was
It was on
on
Zoom.
Zoom. Yeah, it was on Zoom.
So how was it like working with your first case study?
It was interesting. It was somebody that I knew. I've known for some time. The great thing about doing it as a case study is you both know the situation. So when you're busily looking through your notes and thinking, "Just bear with me a second," and then coming back to them, it's acceptable.
Yeah.
It went really well right from the very start, the simple pattern. And when you do that for the first time with somebody and it works and they can't tune into a memory in quite the same way, it gives you a lot of confidence moving on to the session. But it gives the client confidence right from the start.
Yeah.
That this thing works.
Yeah.
And if it can work on this memory, they open themselves up then, I think, to the rest of the session. So yeah, I was delighted.
Absolutely. Because your first client was having panic attacks, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Now, your sessions they were a week apart, if that's correct. What was the difference in her between the 2 sessions? By the time you saw her for the second session, what was it like?
Okay, well, when she turned up for the first session, she had a thick dressing gown on, and she was sitting in a chair, and she was all slumped, and she knows me, so she kind of knows she can be herself with me, which was a good thing, because I saw her in a natural state. She was quite depressed, quite teary. We started the session, and then she softened off, and she kind of brightened up throughout the session, the first session. On the second session, when she turned up, she was a totally different girl. You could see there was an energy about her, a radiance about her, if you like, smiles, completely different. Which, again, going into a second session then gives you, as a therapist, an awful lot of confidence.
Oh, absolutely. What I find is that when I'm working with a client, the first session, they might be a bit hesitant and a bit nervous. But the second session, they really want to be there because they've had such a good experience, and especially during that week as well, that they want to be there and do more work because they've already had an amazing first session, because usually the first session of therapy, it's them giving the therapist their story,
Yes.
And in IMT, we don't do that. There's no content in that sense. We have a little bit of content about what the problem is, but not about, the other stuff. And then, so she was having panic attacks and stuff like that. So you do 2 sessions, and then how has she been since as well?
Well, firstly, the day after our second session, she passed the driving test, which was phenomenal, because she said, "I didn't know about this until the day before," and she said she couldn't have done that. She was in no state to do that before we very first sat down. So she was delighted. I was delighted. And I've checked up on her since, and she's doing great. A different person, to be honest. Yeah. She's getting out, going for walks, looking forward in life. Totally different person.
I know. And this is why you get so many referrals and recommendations as an IEMT therapist or practitioner, because, as you said, there was a remarkable change in her demeanor and her energy. Not that I use that word, but she looked completely different. But in a week, you could have a friend who and who you see regularly, who might be in therapy, traditional therapy, for months, and unless they tell you, you probably won't know. Somebody can go for a single session of IEMT and look can be completely different after literally one session. And I think that people get excited by this and want to tell people and want to share this. It's like, look at this thing which I've sort of discovered, however they've discovered it, because they want other people to have the same results which they have. And that's how I get all of my work, basically from referrals, So
Yeah, well, one thing I didn't say earlier was I got a review offer
how
a
cool.
couple of days after. And one of the first things she said in that review was, "Mike, you've helped me more than any doctor ever has."
Wow.
And that is going pride of place on my website, believe
Yeah.
me, because that is but as a human being, that's
Mm,
such a satisfying
of course.
thing to hear.
No, that's great. And I think, Sina, I know doctors, and say that you are having anxiety and panic attacks and stuff, you've got to think about what can a doctor do in this situation. So
Mm,
a doctor's appointment, a GP appointment, even if you get a face-to-face appointment, let's say you've got 7 to 9 minutes kind of time. What can they actually do? All right, they can recommend you off a CBT. So you'll get 6 sessions of CBT, but when you'll get those, who knows?
mhm,
Um, or they can medicate you. They can put you onto some sort of beta blocker or an SSRI, an antidepressant of some form. They can't work with you working on the imprints of why you're feeling and being this way. That's just not something which can be offered. And I completely understand why. One of my friends, like I say, is a doctor, and he said that when somebody comes into me with sort of depression or anxiety, and I've got between 8 and 10 minutes to try and help this person, I can't take a life history. I can't work out exactly. And he's very highly trained in NLP, and he brings all of this into his practice, or he used to do when he had a practice. Because I'd love to be able to work with people like this, but there's just not the time to do
mm,
so.
mm.
So excellent, very good, first case study. The second case study, a gentleman, a bit more challenging.
Yeah.
So tell us, what was it like working with your case study for your second case study? What was his issues and how did it go?
Well, he had issues around anger, frustration, um, set in his ways,
Hmm.
inability to change. And you could see it right from the very first session, to be honest. He turned up very sort of
Yeah.
reserved and trying to second guess what I was doing, and question, upon questions, giving me answers which were textbook, like he knew how to answer.
Yeah.
Um, um, and yeah, did the ran the first memory, and ran a simple pattern,
Mm.
and he was more surprised that it worked. He wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't a delight. It was like, oh yeah, that's strange.
Yeah.
like the control thing.
Yeah.
He wasn't in control. And from there on in, slowly he softened and was more receptive. There was more calibrations in his,
Mm.
because he questions, he kind of sees what's left a little bit.
Yeah.
So there was 3 or 4 calibrations on his, but we got there to better levels than we did to the first case study. To be
Right.
honest, lower levels. So
Yeah. Excellent. So, and he was much more mature gent as well.
yeah,
He was nearly
yeah,
60.
yeah,
And what you said was quite interesting as well in your case studies, that was it his wife said
yeah,
he was a much nicer person to be around.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. And this is what we often find, is that with IEMT, you'll get a lot of feedback from other people who are around this person. And
yeah.
that person will get feedback just saying that you are a nicer, more tolerant, nicer person to be around. And what was this shift in demeanor as well between his first and second session?
Well, again, he turned up for the second session, because I've been in therapy for a while, and he
Mm,
turned up for the second session more like someone who's turning up for the first session. Open. I'm here to learn. I'm here to work with you. Much more positive, and excited to see where we could take this.
excellent. And how's he been since as well, since the second session?
Yeah, he's been good. I spoke to him last night, and he thanked me, for what I've done. said he's been much more relaxed,
Yeah.
much less judgmental of other people, but also of himself,
Excellent.
and just much more open. Yeah, he's doing well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. So you are a hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
And now from today, you're going to be an IEMT practitioner. Woo-woo.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the future? How do you see yourself using both of these models put together?
Well, I love hypnotherapy. Don't get me wrong. I've been doing it for a short while. What I see with IEMT, though, I normally do a 3-session package or a 5-second package if people need it, but generally a 3-second package. I see IEMT as very much the introduction, sitting somebody down and in the first 10 minutes showing them the power of the mind and the power of change with the memories. And I plan to do 2 sessions of IEMT with hypnotherapy to follow that as a future pacing model going forward. So yeah, it'll take pride of place in my therapies moving forward.
Brilliant. Now, if anybody wants to contact you and work with you, what kind of clients do you tend to work with? Do you have a preference at all?
Well, I've narrowed it down recently to anxiety.
Okay, cool.
When I started off as a hypnotherapist, I was doing gastric bands, smoking, fear of heights, kind of spreading myself a little bit thin. But I've got like a personal connection with anxiety. That's what with family member, and that's what brought me into this environment. So I want to focus, and I've recently changed my website from Mike Day Hypnotherapy to Mike Day Anxiety Release. So I want to work with people who are struggling with anxiety.
Perfect.
Young and old.
Young and old. So Mike Day Anxiety Release.com if people want to get in contact with you. Mike, thank you very much for your time today, and congratulations on becoming an IEMT practitioner.
Thank you.
And well, if you have any questions going forward, you know where I am. And we're very happy to have you part of the IEMT community and go out there and change a lot of people's lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you.